Our last debut writer tonight is a man who you might recognise from other contexts. He's a celebrated actor and comedian and has decided that that's not enough for him. He wants to be celebrated as a writer as well. His debut book, Under Stones, is just out, and it's a collection of short stories. So for all of you aspiring writers in the audience who are told by publishers that short stories don't sell, our next writer's here just to fly in the face of that. Please welcome Mr. Bob Franklin.
Thank you very much. Better wait and see if it does sell before we say anything like that. All right. Yes, it is a book of short stories, so I thought I would read a whole story, one of the shorter pieces. I could read one of the longer pieces very fast, but this seems like a better idea. This is called Learning Difficulties. I was waiting at traffic lights when the encounter took place. I remember that the news was on the car radio. It was an exciting, just breaking story, but I was only half listening. As usual, I was preoccupied with thoughts of Deborah, a recent addition to the staff at the school where I taught English. Deborah was a breath of fresh air in the English department, adventurous and impulsive, and I don't doubt that my resolve to be less stuffy and predictable in an attempt to win her heart informed my actions when the biker pulled up beside the car. Initially, though, it must be said, I was only doing my job, albeit in an environment somewhat less conducive to study than the classroom. The biker was obviously a member of a biker or bikey gang, as he wore the customary leather jacket with the gang's name, the Vagabonds, emblazoned across the back. What drew my professional eye was the misspelling of the name. To wit, Vagabonds. I had my window down in a flash, fearing the lights would change before I could alert the fellow to his error. When a firm tap on the shoulder secured his attention, I was surprised to discover beneath his German army helmet a young man devoid of the sort of wild hair one associates with these types. He was embarrassed by the spelling mistake and surmised that the rest of the gang would appreciate my pointing it out. Would I, therefore, he wondered, follow him to the gang's headquarters, where I could be properly thanked? I imagined this would involve some drinking and high spirits. Well, I thought, here's a story to force Deborah to see me in a different light. So, despite the fact that night was fast encroaching, I followed the biker as he left the main road and journeyed into the wastelands on the fringe of the city. Here, on a patch of scruffy grass in the gathering gloom, I was introduced to a gang of leather and denim-clad figures hunched around a weak fire. By the light of the flames, aided by a rising moon cutting through wispy clouds, I could see that all the gang members were young and clean-shaven. The biker who had brought me slipped into their midst. By way of introduction, I offered them my name and credentials. They listened attentively as I explained how there was no I in their name. "There's no I in team, teacher man," one of them contributed rather obliquely, though it caused much amusement. As the moon slid free of cloud, like a gleaming blade unsheathed, I noted uneasily that the gang's pale faces had grown dark. They started to clumsily explain how funny it was that trouble learning at school had made them vagabonds in the first place, driving them away from towns and cities where their descent into brutality only hastened. Coarse hair covered their faces and hands now, and I recalled phrases from that half-heard news report like savage slaying and victims torn apart. Their words started to garble in mouths rapidly filling with teeth. When all coherence was lost, they rose as one, backs bent, long yellow fingernails click-clacking in the empty night. "Well, it's never too late to learn," I assured them. "Why don't you wait here while I go and get my fellow English teacher and we'll make a start?" Deborah and I were married 2 months later. The vagabonds were all present, looking very smart in their new jackets. All right, here's another little one. This is called Say Goodnight to Nanny. A lot of people are reluctant to hire a male nanny, even one with credentials as impeccable as mine, especially the older, more traditional families. So it came as a big surprise when I was granted an interview with the Baroness Delby Beaumont, no less. It was a filthy winter's afternoon when I drove out to her stately home in the sticks, bitter winds wrapping sheets of rain around my Volkswagen as it rattled through the narrow country lanes. I was trying not to get too excited about the prospect of landing the job of looking after the Baroness's 4 little girls, but I knew it was a great opportunity to establish myself in the top flight. A huge pair of iron gates, set within mighty stone walls, announced the borders of a world of power and privilege I'd been keen to immerse myself in since an adolescence of avid royal watching. Informing security of my arrival via an intercom, the gruff voice at the other end instructed, "Follow the driveway to the house, miss." I assumed the sound quality of the intercom was to blame for the mistake and drove through the opening gates, noticing for the first time how the centrepiece of each resembled a bloated, moon-like face. The driveway wound through walls of hulking pines that stepped back to let the car through, then closed ranks behind it. They gave way to a clearing where pleasant gardens struggled valiantly to alleviate the oppressive facade of Beaumont Hall. The gardens ended abruptly at the back of the building, cut off by a wire fence. As I travelled the final stretch of gravel, a movement beyond the fence caught my eye and left an unpalatable after-image of something large reeling about with little control. I had scant time to dwell on it before a valet appeared to take care of my car. I blamed the pouring rain this time when I thought I heard him say, "Good luck, miss," as he drove away. To my puzzlement, he took the car back down the road I'd just come in on. Minutes later, as the butler led me down the hallway with a "This way, miss," I concluded that the staff were mocking me. Putting the matter to one side, I concentrated on the opulence of my surrounds. The intricate Persian rugs, the Dutch masters on the walls, the exquisite Belgian chandeliers. The Baroness was standing at the French windows of the drawing room when the butler and I arrived at the door. Something happening outside was giving her cause to smile, despite the rain that thundered against the glass. Her high spirits continued throughout our interview, conducted on the sofa, and when I offered my references, she waved them away. "The job was yours the moment you walked in the door," she declared. In a state of joyful surprise, I complimented her on her refreshing attitude, particularly in regards to my gender. She laughed at this, explaining how her 4 would benefit from a more robust nanny. "Firm but fair, that's me, ask anyone," I babbled as the Baroness rose from the sofa. "Well," she smiled, "it seems the only thing left to do is introduce you." "Indeed," I concurred, following the Baroness into what appeared to be some sort of rumpus room. Again, I found myself staring wide-eyed at my surroundings, though this time less with wonder than bemusement. I was still trying to assimilate the muddy handprints on the foam walls, the myriad rag dolls and the filthy carpet spongy beneath my feet, when the Baroness opened the back door. "Girls, come and meet Nanny!" she shouted into the rain. And even with that rain thudding into the ground, I heard them coming. I wasn't aware I was backing away until I came up hard against the wall. The Baroness, still smiling broadly, stepped aside and the girls blundered in. They pulled up clumsily and formed a line in front of me. Each of the 4 was taller than I and twice as wide. They wore light blue dresses that may have been cute were they not stretched over such huge frames. The dresses aside, there was little indication of gender or age. The massive faces lolled blankly as they caught their breath, steam rising from their wet clothes. Occasionally, an expression of pure malevolence passed across their faces, like black clouds drifting in front of the moon. From somewhere far away, I heard myself say, "I haven't signed anything yet." The Baroness clapped her hands in delight. "Oh, Nanny," she cried, "I can see you're going to be a lot of fun." Thank you.